Smoke hung in the air like a thick curtain. The sky above the battlefield was gray and lifeless. Pieces of metal and broken machines were scattered across the field. Burned patches of ground showed where bombs had fallen. Bodies lay still, some human, some not. A group of medics moved carefully between the wreckage. They were searching for survivors. Most of the soldiers they found were either badly wounded or already gone. But then, one of the medics stopped and called out, "Over here, I've got someone." They ran over and found a young woman lying in the dirt. Her uniform was torn and covered in dust, but there was no blood. Her face was calm, her eyes closed. She looked like she was sleeping. "She's alive," the medic said. "No wounds, just unconscious." The woman was lifted gently onto a stretcher and carried back to the recovery ship. On the ship, doctors checked her. They found no signs of injury, no broken bones, and no burns. She had a pulse, steady breathing, and normal brain activity. But when she woke up, she stared at the ceiling with blank eyes. She didn't speak at first. When the doctor asked her name, she looked confused. I don't know," she said softly. The doctors looked at each other. One of them stepped closer. "Do you know where you are?" She shook her head slowly. "Do you remember anything?" "No," she whispered. "Nothing." They tried different ways to help her remember. Pictures, recordings, smells from home. Nothing worked. She didn't recognize any of it. To help her recover, they gave her a temporary name, Claire. Claire was moved to a rehab base on a calm planet called Arlan 3. It was far from the front lines of war. The base was quiet and safe, with clean buildings, green fields, and peaceful skies. Soldiers recovering from injuries came there to heal. Claire stayed in a small room with white walls and soft lights. She had a bed, a desk, and a window that looked out at the sky. Every morning, she sat by the window and watched the clouds. She didn't speak much. She followed instructions, ate her meals, and took her medicine. But inside, she felt empty. Something was missing. Something big. Then one morning, a new person walked into her room. He was tall and strong, with short brown hair and calm eyes. He wore the same uniform as the others, but he moved differently, like someone who had seen too much. "Hey," he said gently. "I'm Luke. I'm part of the transition team. I'm here to help you get comfortable." Claire looked at him but said nothing. "I know it's a lot," he continued. "You don't have to talk if you don't want to. I'm just here if you need anything." He smiled a little, then sat on a chair near the window. For a long time, they just sat there in silence. Luke didn't ask questions. He didn't push her. He just sat quietly. Day after day, he returned. Sometimes he brought puzzles. Sometimes they went for slow walks around the garden. Sometimes they just sat in silence. Slowly, Claire began to relax around him. She didn't remember her past, but she felt safe with Luke. One day she asked, "Do you think I'll ever remember?" Luke looked at her. "Maybe. Memory is strange. Sometimes it comes back when you're not even trying." Claire nodded. "I feel like something is waiting, like it's just behind a door. I just can't open it." "Then we wait," Luke said. "It never comes back. We make new memories." She looked at him, and for the first time smiled. Luke didn't talk about his own past, but Claire could tell he had one. His eyes held pain. Sometimes, when he thought she wasn't looking, his hands shook. He had scars, not just on his skin, but deep inside, and somehow that made her trust him more. As the weeks passed, the war outside the base continued. Reports came in: battles lost, planets taken, soldiers missing. But inside the walls of Arlan 3, Claire and Luke found a kind of peace, not happiness, but calm. She still didn't remember who she was, but she wasn't afraid anymore. Luke was there, and that was enough for now. The morning sun rose gently over Arlan 3. Birds sang near the edges of the base, and soft wind moved the tall grass outside the buildings. Inside the rehab center, Claire sat by her window like she did every morning. But today, her eyes were not on the sky. She was looking at her hands, turning them slowly, as if hoping they would tell her something. Luke entered the room with 2 cups of tea. You look deep in thought, he said. Claire looked up and gave a small smile. I was trying to see if my hands remember anything. Luke chuckled lightly and sat across from her. That's a new one. Sometimes it feels like my body remembers things. My mind doesn't, she said. Like when I walk, or when I hold something heavy. It feels ... familiar. Luke nodded. Muscle memory. It's real. Your body can remember even when your mind forgets. They sat in silence for a moment. The tea steamed between them. Do you work with a lot of people like me? Claire asked. Some, Luke said. But not many lose everything like you did. Most remember. Pieces, names, or faces. You're like a blank page. Claire lowered her eyes. Is that bad? No, he said gently. It just means you get to write your story again. After breakfast, Luke took Claire to the garden behind the main building. It was a quiet place with stone paths, flowers, and small trees. There were benches for sitting and wind chimes hanging from wooden arches. Claire walked slowly, touching the flowers. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. It's peaceful here, she said. It doesn't feel like war ever touched this place. That's why they built it here, Luke replied. To give people a break from the war, a place to feel normal again. They walked in silence for a while. Then Claire stopped beside a bench and looked up. Did I fight in the war? Luke looked at her carefully. Yes, you were found on a battlefield. Did I kill anyone? He didn't answer right away. I don't know, but probably. Claire sat down and put her hands in her lap. I don't feel like a killer. Most people don't, Luke said, even when they are. Later that day, Claire was called to the medical wing for another test. The doctors placed small sensors on her head and asked her to focus on different images. Some were pictures of planets, others of weapons, uniforms, or battlefields. She stayed calm until they showed a certain image. It was a symbol 3 stars inside a black triangle. Suddenly her heart raced. Her breathing became fast. Her hands shook. What is that? She whispered. Do you recognize it? The doctor asked. Claire stared at the symbol, eyes filled with tears. I don't know, but it makes me feel scared. The test ended early. Luke met her outside the room. What happened? He asked. Claire shook her head. They showed me something. A symbol. I don't know what it means, but it hurt to look at. Luke put a hand on her shoulder. Maybe it's a clue, something from your past. That night, Claire had trouble sleeping. She kept seeing the symbol in her dreams. In the dream, she was running through a dark hallway, alarms blaring, lights flashing red. She was holding something small and glowing, and behind her, shadows were chasing her. She woke up with a cry, sweat on her face. Luke rushed into the room. Claire, are you okay? She sat up and wiped her face. I had a dream. No, a memory, I think. I was running. Something was chasing me. I was scared. Luke stayed with her until she calmed down. The next day, Claire asked Luke to take her to the base library. It was a quiet room with shelves of digital records, history files, and news reports. She searched the archives for hours, typing in words. She didn't even know she remembered. Triangle, 3 stars, dark ops. She didn't find anything that matched. But Luke noticed something. The way you typed, he said. You were fast. Exact. Like someone trained. Claire looked at her hands. Maybe I was a tech officer, or a spy, maybe Luke said. Or maybe more. Over the next few days, Claire trained. With the other recovering soldiers, she picked up skills quickly. She knew how to aim a weapon, how to move silently, how to read enemy signs. It all came back without effort. You're not just a soldier, one of the trainers said. You were special forces. Luke watched her carefully. He started to look into old mission logs, trying to find any trace of a female operative who went missing. Most records were locked. He requested access from his old contacts. They refused. Someone doesn't want you to remember, Luke told Claire one night. That symbol you sit's part of something secret. Claire nodded. I need to know. I can't move on until I know. Luke placed a hand on hers. Then we'll find the truth, together. And for the first time, Claire didn't feel lost. Felt strong. She didn't know who she was, but she knew she was not alone. Claire woke up early. The sky outside was still dark, but she felt wide awake. The memory of the symbol and the dream still lingered in her mind. It wasn't just a nightmare. She knew now it was real. She had seen that place, that hallway, those shadows. She got dressed and stepped out quietly. The base was quiet at that hour. Only the guards and a few night workers were around. Claire walked to the garden and sat on a bench. She looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, she had been someone else, someone who mattered. She heard footsteps behind her. It was Luke. He handed her a warm drink and sat beside her. Couldn't sleep? He asked. Claire shook her head. Too much in my mind. I've been thinking too, Luke said, about that symbol, your skills, how fast you're remembering things. It all points to something bigger. Claire looked at him. You believe I was part of a secret mission? Yes, Luke said. I didn't want to say it before, but now I'm sure. I sent a message to someone I trust. They used to work in Intel. Asked them to look for anything about a mission with a black triangle and 3 stars. Claire took a deep breath. And what did they find? Nothing yet. But if there's a record, he'll find it. The next day, Claire spent time in the training area. She used the practice weapons and moved through the obstacle course with ease. The other soldiers watched her with quiet respect. It was clear she had done this before. Her body remembered, even if her mind did not. Later in the dining hall, a soldier approached her. You move like Ghost Squad, he said. I saw one of them once. Black armor, quiet, deadly. You look like them. Claire didn't answer. She just nodded that night. Luke returned to her room with a small device in his hand. Got a message, he said. From my contact, Claire leaned closer. Luke played the message. A man's voice came through, rough and quiet. I don't know how you found this, but that symbol belongs to a team called Emberlight, Deep Black Ops. Not even the council knows the full details. Only 5 people were on that team. One of them was a woman, codename Iris, real name unknown. They vanished 6 months ago on a mission behind Drexar lines. All records locked. Luke paused the message. Claire whispered, Iris, ... Is that your name? Luke asked. Claire nodded slowly. It sounds right. It feels like me. Luke finished the message. Iris was the tech and recon lead, specialist in alien systems. The team was sent to recover something dangerous. But no one came back. The mission was erased. Claire stood up and walked to the window. Her hands were shaking. They left. Us out there. Luke joined her. Maybe someone didn't want you to return. Claire turned to him. What were we sent to find? The message didn't say, just that it was called Project Ashcore. No details. Claire stared into the night. I need to know. Over the next few days, Claire and Luke worked together in secret. They used the base network to look for anything related to Emberlight, Iris, or Ashcore. Most files were blocked. But Claire found a way around the firewalls. Her hands moved quickly over the screen. Her old skills came back. One file opened. It was a blurry image of a Drexar temple on a far-off planet. Below it were words, Ashcore artifact suspected within. Covery critical. Claire remembered that place. She saw flashes of it in her Mindstone walls. Strange light, whispers in her ear. Then she saw another image. Her team, 5 figures in. Dark suits, faces hidden. She knew their names now, Riley, Grant, Maya, Cole, and herself Iris. They had gone in together, but only she had returned. Tears filled her eyes. I left them behind. Luke placed a hand on her shoulder. You survived. You escaped. That means something. Claire turned to him. I have to go back. I have to find out what happened. Luke nodded. Then I'm going with you. You don't have to, she said. I do, he replied. You're not doing this alone. Not anymore. They began to plan. They needed a ship, supplies, and a reason to leave the base. Luke contacted an old friend who ran cargo runs. The friend agreed to take them to the outer rim. In secret, as the day of their departure neared, Claire trained harder. She remembered more each day: how to fight, how to hide, how to survive. But one thing stayed the same. her connection to Luke. He had become more than just a guide. He was her partner now, the one who believed in her when she didn't even know who she was. The night before they left, Claire stood on the roof of the building and watched the stars. Luke joined her. "You ready?" he said. "I'm scared," she replied. "Me too," he said. "But we'll face it together." She looked at him. "Thank you, Luke, for everything." He smiled. "Let's bring your memory home." And with that, they walked down from the roof, ready to begin the journey back into the shadows of her past. Asterisk, the cargo ship that picked them up, was old and noisy, with scratched metal walls and flickering lights. The pilot was a man named Joe. He had gray hair, a deep voice, and a habit of chewing gum all the time. He didn't ask questions. Luke trusted him. Claire sat near the small window and looked out at the stars. They were heading toward the Drexar border, to the same planet where Emberlight had gone missing 6 months ago. "You okay?" Luke asked, sitting beside her. "I don't know," Claire said. "I keep thinking about my team, see their faces more clearly now. I remember their voices. We laughed together. We trained for months. We trusted each other." "We'll find out what happened to them," Luke said. "We'll find answers." The journey took 4 days. During that time, Claire trained in the ship's cargo bay. She ran drills, practiced with weapons, and sharpened her reflexes. Luke joined her when he could, though he knew she was far faster than him. Watching her move was like watching someone who had done this her whole life. Each night, Claire dreamed. In her dreams, she saw flashes of her mission. She remembered the landing. On the planet, the cold wind, the dark temple with its strange walls. She remembered walking deeper into the alien structure, hearing the whispers, feeling the presence of something old and dangerous. But the dreams always ended the same way, with a bright light, her team shouting, and then silence. On the 5th day, the ship landed on the surface of the planet. It was dark and quiet. The air smelled of metal and dust. The sky was covered in thick gray clouds. The land was dry, with jagged rocks and no signs of life. Joe stayed with the ship. "Give you 3 days," he said. "Then I'm leaving. With or without you." Claire and Luke stepped into the cold wind and began walking toward the temple. It was just as Claire remembered. Giant stone structure built into the side of a mountain. The entrance was wide and dark. Symbols covered the walls, alien marks that glowed faintly in the shadows. Claire stopped. Her hand touched the wall. Her eyes closed. "This is it," she said. "This is where everything went wrong." They moved inside, careful and slow. Luke held a light while Claire led the way. She moved like someone who had walked these halls before. Her fingers brushed along the walls, feeling the grooves. "There was a room," she said. "Central chamber. That's where the artifact was." They walked for over an hour. The deeper they went, the colder it got. The walls seemed to hum with energy. Then they reached a large doorway. Claire stopped. "This is it." Inside the room was a round platform, and in the center stood a tall object covered with alien markings. It pulsed softly with blue light. Around it were signs of a fight, broken equipment, scattered gear, and a helmet. Claire picked up the helmet. Her hand shook. This was Maya's. She whispered. She looked around. Her memories came rushing back. She saw her team standing there. Riley was scanning the object. Grant was guarding the door. Cole was laughing at a joke Maya made. No, Iris was at the control panel. "The artifact activated," she said slowly. It sent out a pulse. "That's when the Drexar came. We fought hard, but they overwhelmed us." She walked to the side of the room. "We tried to escape, but something hit me. A shockwave. I woke up alone in the tunnels. I ran. I didn't know who I was." Luke looked at the artifact. "What is it?" "I don't know," Claire said. "But it's not just a weapon. It's alive. I felt it speaking to me. It knew things about us." Suddenly, the blue light grew brighter. The room shook. "We triggered it," Claire said. "Back away." They moved toward the door, but it slammed shut. The artifact pulsed faster. Claire dropped to her knees. Images filled her mind. Planets burning, soldiers dying, voices screaming in. Languages she didn't know. "Claire," Luke shouted. She looked up, tears in her eyes. "It's showing me the future. A war worse than anything we've seen. This thing ... It warns of what's coming. The artifact let out a final pulse, then went dark. The room stopped shaking. The door opened again. Claire stood up slowly. Breathing was heavy. That's why they sent us, she said. Let's bring this back, to study it. But they didn't expect it to speak. They feared it. So they buried the mission. Luke looked at her. Do you want to take it? Claire shook her head. No, not yet. We need to tell someone first. Someone we can trust. They left the temple and returned to the ship. Joe looked surprised to see them so soon. Find what you were looking for? He asked. Claire nodded. More than I expected. As the ship rose into the sky, Claire looked down at the temple. Her past was no longer hidden. The truth was painful, but now she had it. And the future, whatever came next, would not catch her unaware again. She would be ready. With Luke by her side, she felt strong. She was Iris. She was Claire, and she was not afraid anymore. The journey back to safe space was quiet. Claire sat near the window again, watching the stars. Her mind was full of thoughts. The temple, the artifact Tit, was all real now. She had answers, but more questions had come with them. Luke sat across from her, checking a small screen. He was reading the files they had downloaded from the temple. The data was hard to read. The alien symbols were unlike anything seen before. Claire rubbed her hands together. We can't keep this to ourselves. Someone has to know. Someone we can trust. Luke nodded. I have someone in mind. Her name is Commander Leah Grant. She used to be my superior. She left the military after a scandal, but she's honest. She won't bury the truth, Claire agreed. And she's our best hope. When they arrived at a quiet spaceport on a neutral moon, they sent a message to Leah. 2 days later, she met them in a hidden corner of an old station. She was tall, with sharp eyes and a calm voice. Her hair was tied back, and she wore plain clothes. Luke, she said, shaking his hand, still getting into trouble? Only the important kind, he replied. Leah looked at Claire. And you must be the one he told me about. Claire stepped forward. My name is Claire. Used to be called Iris. I was part of Operation Emberlight. Leah's eyes widened. I remember that name. The mission that disappeared. I tried to get details once. Everything was locked. They wanted it buried, Claire said, because of what we found. They moved to a quiet room and showed her the files. Leah read them carefully. Her expression grew more serious with each line. This artifact, if what you're saying is true, it doesn't just record the past. It sees the future. It showed me things, Claire said. Things that haven't happened yet. Whole planets burning. New enemies. Leah leaned back. This is bigger than I thought. We need to be careful. If the wrong people hear about this, they'll try to control it. Or destroy it, Luke asked. What do we do next? Leah thought for a moment. First, we find someone in the council who can be trusted. There are still a few honest voices left. We get them to open an investigation. Claire was quiet. Then she said, I also need to find out what happened to the rest of my team. I remember the moment we were attacked, but I still don't know if any of them survived. I'll help you, Leah said. But if they were captured by the Drexar, then we'll go after them, Claire said firmly. The next few weeks were busy. Leah arranged secret meetings with trusted contacts. Luke helped decode more of the alien data. Claire trained harder than ever, preparing for anything. One night as Claire sat alone, she looked at an old photo Leah had found. It showed the 5 members of Emberlight just before their mission. They were smiling, standing together. Claire traced each face with her finger. I'm coming for you, she whispered. I won't leave you behind. Suddenly an alert flashed. On the screen, it was from Leah. Urgent. Claire and Luke rushed to the meeting room. Leah was there, her face pale. We have a problem, she said. Someone found out what we're doing. Our contact at the council was arrested an hour ago. They're trying to shut us down, Luke said. Or worse, Leah replied. They want the artifact. And Claire stood still. We can't let them have it. No, Leah said. We move now. We take the evidence, and we disappear. We gather more proof. We bring the truth to the people. That night, they packed everything and left the station. They moved to a hidden outpost in the asteroid belt. There they began sending encrypted messages to reporters, scholars, and old military officers. The truth started to spread, quietly at first. Whispers, rumors, leaks. People began to ask questions. Claire watched it all unfold. She felt hope rising. The truth was like fire, it only needed a spark. One day, Luke brought her a new report. We found something, he said. A signal, faint, but real. It matches one of the devices used by your team. It's coming from a Drexar prison camp. Claire's heart raced. One of them is alive. Luke nodded. We can't be sure who, but the signal is real. Claire looked at Leah. I'm going. You won't go alone, Leah said. We'll make a plan. We'll get them out. Claire felt something. She hadn't felt in a long time: strength, purpose, and the fire of hope. She looked at Luke. He smiled at her, proud and calm. She reached for his hand. We started this together, she said. We finish it together. And so, with the stars ahead of them and danger close behind, they began the next part of their mission, not just to reveal the truth, but to bring their people home. The asteroid outpost was quiet, but tension filled the air. Claire, Luke, and Leah worked day and night planning their rescue mission. Every detail mattered. We studied maps of the Drexar prison camp, learned guard schedules, and packed the weapons and tools they would need. Claire spent long hours, reviewing every piece of information about her missing team. Her heart ached with hope and fear. What if they were alive but hurt? What if they had changed? What if they didn't remember her? Luke tried to keep her calm. We'll find them, he said, no matter what. Leah arranged for a small, fast ship that could fly under Drexar radar. The ship was old, but reliable. Joe, the cargo pilot, agreed to join them again. He didn't ask questions. The night before the mission, Claire couldn't sleep. By the window, staring at the stars. Luke came to sit beside her. You're ready? He said softly. I don't feel ready, Claire replied, but I have to do this, for them. He took her hand. You're stronger than you know. When the ship left the outpost, Claire felt a mix of fear and hope. The journey to the prison camp was dangerous. Drexar patrols were common, and the area was heavily guarded. They landed far from the camp to avoid detection. Under the cover of darkness, they moved on foot through rocky terrain. Claire led the way, using the memory she had recovered to navigate. Finally, they reached the prison camp. It was a harsh place, high walls topped with barbed wire, watchtowers with armed guards, and harsh lights that never fully went out. Claire's heart pounded. She spotted a weak point in the wall. A small ventilation shaft used to bring fresh air into the cells. That's our way in, she whispered. Luke and Joe prepared their equipment. Leah kept watch. Claire crawled through the shaft, the metal cold against her skin. She felt the past rushing back, memories of being trapped, cold, and scared, but never giving up. Inside, the camp was silent, except for the hum of machines and distant footsteps. Claire moved quickly, checking each cell. Most were empty or held unconscious prisoners. Then she heard a soft cough. Claire hurried to the sound. Behind a rusty metal door was a figure, thin, pale but alive. The prisoner looked up, eyes wide. Claire whispered. She smiled through tears. It's me. I'm here. It was Grant, one of her team members. He was weak, but conscious. Luke and Joe worked to open the door. The alarm suddenly blared. Guards shouted, "We have to move," Luke said. Claire helped Grant to his feet. We're getting out of here. They ran through the dark corridors. Guards chased them, firing weapons. The team fought hard, covering each other. Leah waited outside with the ship. When they burst out, she fired at the guards, giving them time to climb aboard. The ship lifted off just as Drexar reinforcements arrived. Claire watched the prison camp shrink below them. She felt relief and sorrow. Too many were still trapped. Grant rested in his seat, breathing shallow but alive. Claire held his hand. "We'll come back for the others," she promised. The journey back was tense. Drexar ships chased them, but Joe's flying skill kept them safe. When they landed at the asteroid outpost, the team was greeted with quiet cheers. News of their success spread, giving hope to many. Claire spent time with Grant, learning what had happened to the others. Some had died, some were moved to other camps. The Drexar were hiding many secrets. Leah began planning the next rescue missions. Claire felt stronger and more certain of her purpose. One evening, Luke and Claire stood outside looking at the stars. "We've come far," Claire said. "We still have a long way to go," Luke replied. She smiled. "But we're not alone." Luke took her hand. "Never again." Claire closed her eyes and breathed in the cool air. The war was not over. But with her memories back, her friends alive, and allies by her side, she was ready to fight for the future, and this time she would win.